back a few pages to number 102. Page 102. I'm so glad Jesus lifted me. I'm so glad Jesus lifted me. I'm so glad that Jesus lifted me. Singing glory, hallelujah. Jesus lifted me. I was bound, but Jesus set me free. I was bound, but Jesus set me free. I was bound, but Jesus set me free. Singing glory, hallelujah. Jesus lifted me. I'll tell the world, Jesus lifted me. I'll tell the world, Jesus lifted me. I'll tell the world that Jesus lifted me. Singing glory, hallelujah. Jesus lifted me. And now let's go to our hymnal. And let's sing number 209. Number 209. He is able to deliver. Is the grandest thing through the ages run, is the grandest thing for a mortal son, is the grandest thing that the world e'er sung. Our God is able to deliver thee. He is able to deliver thee. He is able to deliver thee. Though I sin up rest unto him, for rest our God is able to deliver thee. 'Tis the grandest thing in the earth ordained, 'tis the grandest thing for a mortal strength, 'tis the grandest thing, tell the world again, our God is able to deliver thee. He is able to deliver thee. He is able to deliver thee. Though I sin up rest unto him, for rest our God is able to deliver thee. 'Tis the grandest thing that the tidings roll to the guilty heart, to the sinful soul. But the God in heaven, he will make thee whole. Our God is able to deliver thee. He is able to deliver thee. He is able to deliver thee. Though I sin up rest unto him, for rest our God is able to deliver thee. And let's go back and sing a couple verses of 329. 329. Sweet are the promises, kind is the word, dearer far than any message man ever heard. Pure was the mind of Christ, sinless I see. He the great example is a pattern for me. Where
good singing tonight. It's good to have you in church this evening. I know there are a lot of places you could be tonight, but I'm glad you're here. So, as we go to prayer tonight, I'm going to ask Sherry to lead us in prayer. Continue to remember the needs of our church and the requests that were made this morning. Sean Trent had a procedure this morning, and it went well, so he's getting along. Continue to pray for Sean, and pray for Paul and the family, and continue to pray for the needs of our church as we've been remembering those from week to week, those that are listed in the bulletin. And so pray for our missionaries who were here this morning. We had a great lunch with them today, and just great people. And they're traveling back to Pennsylvania, so pray for them as they travel and continue their work while they're here before going back to Zimba Hospital. So, does anyone else have a prayer request tonight? Okay, raise your hand. Thank you. Stand with us tonight, and Sherry, will you lead us in prayer?
Father, as we come to you this evening, we're thankful for the many blessings you've given us. We're thankful for all the things you do for us that we just sometimes take for granted. We just want to pause on it and say we're thankful and we're grateful for all that you do for us. As we come to you today, we pray that you would just touch the Bachover family, be with them in a special way in these days, Lord, as they're missing Danny. We pray you just be with Roberta and Jeff and Vanessa and the whole family, Lord, that you would just comfort them during this time of loss. And then we pray for this request that Nancy had this morning of this one who passed, and we pray you would be with them as well. We thank you for your touch on Sean. We pray you continue to touch him, and also we thank you for your touch on the pastor. We pray you continue to be with him and give him some more encouraging days and days where he can get out and just kind of enjoy life. We pray you continue to be with him. Be with every request that was mentioned, maybe or not out loud, but by mention of a raised hand. We pray you know each one of those needs and you know how to undertake them. We pray you be with the Joneses as they're traveling back to Pennsylvania. Be with them as they go back to the field in June or July, and that you would just continue to bless them the way you have in the past and give them many more great victories, not only medically but spiritually as well. We pray you these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Be seated. Thank you. Our usher will come. We'll wait on you for the evening offering. So, they're racing to the front, Mike. Pray. Father, thank you for your blessings to our church. Thank you for blessing our people here in the church and for the work that we're seeing happening through this ministry of this church. We pray that you would bless this offering, bless the gift and the giver in Jesus' name.
I've gotten older, I truly get it. I'd rather have Jesus.
Thank you, Sherry and Dick, for that song. That should be the desire of all of our hearts, right?
Amen.
Rather have Jesus than anything this world has to offer. This world has a lot of shiny things, a lot of bright, shiny things, and they look good, but they don't always deliver what they promise. Before I start this evening, and I won't keep you long, but Sean had called me Friday and said that he was not going to be able to be here. He's been sick, of course. And but I do want to share a little bit with you tonight, but we won't keep you too long. But before we start, I wanted to just give you a moment and wait on you for a moment. If you have anything on your heart you'd like to share, something that the Lord has laid on your heart that will help us to hear it. So we're going to wait on you for a few minutes if you'd like to share.
I'm just thankful for people like the Joneses who, they could be here in the States making lots of money, but they have chosen to go over to Zambia and serve. I think they said that they've been there 10 years, and I remember the first time they came to our church, and flashy and they don't like, look at me, I'm so intelligent or anything. I just like their spirit, and I think God's really using me in one way.
I'm just thankful to be here tonight.
Glad you're here. Appreciate you playing there at the beginning of the service. You really tickle those ivories.
Thank you.
Great. We're glad you're here tonight. Turn with me to John chapter 14. We're going to be talking tonight about trusting God. Obviously, this is a subject that could go on for quite some time. We can talk about this over and over and over again. But we're going to explore a little bit tonight about what the disciples experienced, particularly at the Last Supper, when Jesus was basically telling them that he was going to be leaving. And talking about the subject of trusting God and trusting God's promises and what he tells us to be true. John chapter 14, the first 14 verses, Jesus is speaking. They're at the meal of the Passover, the Last Supper, the last time Jesus will be with them as a group before he is taken off and arrested. And chapter 14, verse 1 starts and says, "Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to live with me, to be with me, so that where I am, you may be also. You know the way to the place where I'm going." Thomas said to him, "Lord, we don't know where you're going. How can we know the way?" And Jesus answered, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really knew me, you would know my Father well. From now on, you do know him and have known him." Philip said, "Lord, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us." Jesus answered, "Don't you know me, Philip, even after I have been among you such a long time? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How could you say, 'Show us the Father'? Don't you believe that I am in the Father and that the Father is in me? The words I say to you are not just my own. Rather, it is the Father living in me who is doing his work. Believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. Or at least believe on the evidence of the miracles themselves. I tell you the truth, anyone who has faith in me will do what I have been doing. He will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. And I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Son may bring glory to the Father. You may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it." And then skipping back toward the end of this chapter to 28, the last few verses, Jesus says, "You heard me say, I'm going away and I'm coming back to you. If you loved me, you would be glad that I'm going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I. I have told you now before it happens, so that when it does happen, you will believe. I will not speak with you much longer, for the prince of this world is coming. He has no hold on me, but the world must learn that I love the Father and that I do exactly what my Father has commanded me. Come now, let us leave." Jesus is with his disciples. It will be the last time they're together as a group before his arrest, his trial, and crucifixion. He's washed their feet. He's told them he's about to be killed. He's given to them instructions about what to do after he has left them to go to his Father in heaven. He has excused Judas from the group to do what he must do. And the disciples are full of questions. Most of them will not be answered, and will not be answered until after his resurrection. And many of those questions will not be answered in their lifetime. During the 3 days after Jesus' death, the disciples were scattered. They were hiding in fear of discovery by the Romans. Can we imagine the emotions they were feeling? The disciples had left everything that was dear to them. They left their jobs and their careers. They left their families. They left their homes to follow this person with sort of a strange movement, a strange idea about things. And they had spent 3 years with him. They lived with him for 3 years. They knew as much about him as anyone could possibly know. You know a lot about a person when you live with him. But yet, at the Passover supper, he's telling them, I'm leaving, and I will be back. But they don't quite understand what that means fully until it all starts to happen. He gets arrested. He's taken to a mock trial where they broke just about every legal rule in the book to convict him. And shortly after, they crucified him on a cross on a hill outside of town where everyone would see him in shame and agony. So put yourself in the position of the disciples at this time. He's taken away, and now they're all scattered. They're afraid for their lives. And wherever they're hiding, they've got to be asking some questions. What in the world just happened? Can they trust Jesus and what he said to them? Can they trust the promises that he made? Because this just doesn't seem right. So they lost everything. They gave up everything to follow him. He was crucified. Now he's dead. Now what? Now the questions start. Where do they go? What do they do? Where is Jesus now? Was this a ruse? Was this just a ruse? Was this just a trick? You know, it would be hard to imagine what the disciples were going through. And maybe they're asking, how stupid could we be? We've all been in circumstances where the world seems to be falling apart. We all face, as we talked this morning in the Sunday school lesson, we all face trials and tribulations. Doubting God is not new. Ever since the Garden of Eden, people have doubted God and doubted God's words, doubted what God had to say. And so the disciples are asking, where is Jesus? Does he care? Does he care what I'm going through? There are some things that we have to consider when we talk about trusting God, and the real question is, why are there times when we don't trust God? What is the reason for that? I have a few thoughts tonight. Why do we lack trust in God? Number one, oftentimes it's carnal pride. Because we're the kind of beings who want to see instant action. We want to see things done when we want it, how we want it, where we want it, in our time frame. And when God doesn't follow our expectation, we then start to question God. We don't question ourselves. We question God. So it can't be us. We're doing all the right things, we think. We pray. We have faith, we say. But yet, why didn't God answer this at 5 o'clock yesterday when I asked him? Sometimes we treat God like a cosmic vending machine, right? We just want to put in our request, pull the lever, and it comes out just exactly the way we want it, when we want it, where we want it. So oftentimes we don't trust God because he doesn't come through for us the way we expect he should come through. So we want him to deliver based on what we want, when we want it, how we want it. We want complete healing, and we want it now. We need more money to meet our bills, so we want that job now. The fact is, we let our human nature stand in the way. And when God doesn't deliver our way, here is the translation. God just doesn't care. Well, that's our carnal nature. That's our humanness. We do want to control things. We want to be able to ask for things. And in this convenience-oriented society, we want it quickly. We want it quickly. But we know God's time is not our time. His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And so, sometimes when we try to get into this, play the role of God just like a spoiled child, I want, give me, give me, give me, give me. You've seen a spoiled child before, right? We've all seen them. Our kids have been acting like they're spoiled from time to time. We see what a spoiled child looks like. I don't know if you remember that movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I forget the character in there, but she was just a spoiled, rotten brat, and everything didn't go her way, and she'd throw a fit, kick her feet every single time. And oftentimes as adults, in one sense, we kind of do the same thing. We want it our way. And so sometimes we don't really trust God to the level we should because He is not delivering the way we want things delivered when we pray. Secondly, I think sometimes we just simply don't understand. You know, there are a lot of things we don't understand in this life. We have questions why certain things happen to us and those we love. You know, July 3rd, 1982, my dad turned 48 years old. Just turned 48 years old, July 3rd, 1982. 10 weeks later, my mom was planning his funeral. He had a massive heart attack and died. Unexpected. I have questions about that. Didn't understand it at the time. I don't question God in terms of God's right to take people when He wants to take people. But I have to tell you, I didn't understand it. I never understand it when people who are young are taken out of this life in our view of things early. Don't understand that. Why did those two teenagers in Delphi have their lives taken for no apparent reason? We used to have a young woman who attended our church many years ago. Her name was Michelle. And Michelle was not saved and had been coming for a little while. And one Sunday morning, we had a very, very powerful service that morning. I mean, the Spirit was really moving on the people. And that day, Michelle was here in the service. But that day, at the end of the service, these altars were lined with people. Michelle was not one of them. After the service, she was standing about where Mike's sitting, and we got to talking. People were leaving. The service was over. People were drifting out to the vestibule, and I got to talking to her. I could tell something was really bothering her, and we got to talking, and she said, you know, I really felt like I needed to go up there today. But she said, you just don't understand the things I've done. She said, I'm not good enough for God. And I told her, I said, Michelle, no one is. You can't get good enough for God to accept you because He accepts us right where we are. And we talked, and I said, you want to go back up? She said, yeah, I do. So she came up. Sunday, this is how long ago it was. Sonny and Mary Margaret were here. And we put word out, you know, Michelle needed prayer. People came back in. People knelt and prayed with her. And she accepted Christ that morning. Now, time went on. She had been married before, had a son, and divorced. And she met a guy, and they got married. And she ended up attending another church after that. Had two beautiful boys. And it had been some time since they had attended this church. And Michelle was a beautiful person inside and out. She would walk into the room, and she always had a smile. She had a great personality. And when she accepted Christ, it just made her more exuberant than ever before. And they had been gone from the church for quite some time, and then word came one day that she had been diagnosed with cancer. I don't remember exactly how long the period of time this lasted, but I recall that it didn't seem to be a very long period of time before she passed away. And when I went to the funeral home and went through the receiving line and stood there at her casket, looking at her silent in death, I had two thoughts into my mind. One was just a tremendous amount of gratitude that God had met her need here and that she, by the word of her testimony, was saved. That was number one. And number two was the question, why? You know, she was such a witness for the Lord. She started making baskets that were for different occasions. And so the company I worked for previously, when someone who working for me had a new baby born in the family, I would call her up and say, hey, send a basket for a baby boy to this address or a baby girl to this address. And she put these baskets, did a beautiful job doing these baskets. But she was just a delight to be around. So you ask questions in those situations, why did she have to die so young? Why does our pastor have cancer? You start asking questions and you say, wow, why that person? I suppose the person could say, why not, right? It happens to all of us. I remember the day, we were talking lunch today, I remember the day that Dick called me and said, you talked about your Paul? I said, no. And he said, well, Paul's been diagnosed with brain tumor. I said, Paul who? Paul Trent. I said, Paul Trent. Yeah. I asked him at least twice. I said, you're telling me Paul Trent has brain tumor? Because it happens so quickly, it seems, right? Without any warning. And we don't understand. I think sometimes that's why sometimes it's difficult at some level for us to trust God, because we see these things go on and we say, God, you're in control. Why are you allowing that to happen? But just as we talked last week in the Sunday school lesson, God allows us to go through these trials. He doesn't put the temptations on us to do evil, but He does allow us to go through trials. And it helps us to be stronger in our spirit. It shows us and reflects our dependence on Him. Because aren't we driven to pray more when we're going through trials? Aren't we driven to read the Bible more? Aren't we driven to search deeper into His Word and into prayer and Bible reading when we're going through a difficult time? Because that's where we go to search for the answers. You ask, why was my spouse taken from me so soon? I reflect back on my comments about my dad. My mom passed away a few years ago, and as we were going through her things, found a journal. And it's shortly after my dad died. And she had written in her journal, I feel so lonely. I'm so alone. I don't understand this. And looking back on it, I think it was only after Mom passed away and we kind of were looking through her things and reading some things she had written. It was only then that I really fully realized how hurting she was at that time. At the time my dad died, Nancy and I lived down in southern Indiana. Cell phones weren't a thing back then. We didn't call that often, because we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have internet, didn't have Facebook. We had the old rotary dial phone or the push touchtone phones or whatever. They'd call once in a while, long distance call. Cost money, right? But we'd call once in a while. But I suppose because of the distance, I never fully, and Mom was a kind of private person, strong, independent, tough veneer. So she never really shared her personal feelings a lot. But in reading her words, I realized just how deeply hurting she was at that time. And I can't explain it, why that happened the way it did, when it did. But we asked the same questions the disciples asked. Where is Jesus? I'm going through a really, really bad time here. Where is Jesus? Jesus told the disciples, I'm coming back. We will be together again. The disciples lived out the remainder of their earthly days in wonder and doubt, looking for Jesus. Will He come back? Has He forgotten me? But He never came back. Not in the physical, not in their lifetime, not in their earthly lifetime. He sent the Holy Spirit to be with them. But after He ascended, He did not come back in their lifetime. We don't trust God because we've not fully considered the significance of the sacrifice He made to redeem us. I want to share a little illustration with you, and bear with me. I want to do my best to honor this, but I want you to think with me for a moment about something. Imagine that you're driving home one evening. As you pull in the driveway, you kind of catch the very end of a news story. It's just something about a disease in some remote part of India. And then about a week later, you hear on the news that this disease has spread all across India. Then it's no time before you hear that it's now spread across the Middle East, Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan. They're calling it the mystery flu. Because you don't know you have it until you start having symptoms, and then by the time you have the symptoms, it's too late. There is no cure, there is no antidote, and you will die. Next, you hear that it is now spread in France and all through Europe. You watch CNN, and the President of the United States stops all flights going in and out of the country. If you have family in other countries, I'm sorry, he says. We cannot let anyone in or out of the country because we don't want this disease to come to the United States. A few weeks later, you're in a prayer meeting. Somebody comes rushing in saying they just heard it on the news. 3 dock workers in California are in the hospital and they're dying from this mystery flu. The disease is now in the United States. Then you hear it's now in California. It's spread to Texas, Alabama, Florida. It's working its way up the East Coast. No one knows what is causing this flu, but it is a death sentence, and there is no cure. People are going around saying it's the end of the world, and you ask yourself quietly, is it? Street preachers are out saying the end of the world is near. People are out selling surgical masks for 5 times the price. The whole country's in a panic because people by the thousands are dying from this mystery flu. And they just don't know what to do about it. They decide they need to test everyone's blood. They need to find a certain blood type that will serve to make an antidote to treat this disease. So you hear on the news, they tell you that when you hear a siren go off in your neighborhood, then that means your neighborhood is to go to the nearest hospital and give a drop of blood, and so they can test it. So in a short time, you hear the sirens, and you make your way to the nearest hospital, but the line of traffic is so long, and it takes you 2 hours to get to the hospital because the traffic lines are so long with people rushing to the hospital to get their blood tested. So you get to the hospital finally, and the parking lot, they have makeshift tents set up around the parking lot where they're ushering people in, pricking their finger, getting them through, and some tired doctor comes out with a megaphone and is saying, probably for the 100th time that day, and he's always tired, and he's just saying, once you get your blood taken, your sample of blood is taken, if we do not call your name, just go on home. You're infected. We can't use your blood. And so you're standing there, and your family's with you, and you go through, and everybody puts their sample in, and they take it in, and now there's a commotion. There are all these people around the parking lot. There's a commotion. And some nurses and doctors and some hospital staff come running out of the hospital. They're laughing. They're crying. They're praying. They said, we have found the right blood type. And everybody's just laughing, and they're just so thankful. And so, but over all the noise, they're calling a name, but you can't hear the name. You can't tell whose name it is. And your little boy tugs on you and says, Daddy, that's my name. So you get into the hospital, and they come to you, and a doctor comes to you and says, your son's blood is the blood that we need to make this antidote. And the doctor hands you a clipboard. And he says, we didn't realize this would be a minor. We need your consent. And so you look at the clipboard, you look at the form, and it's blank where you put how much blood is to be taken. And you look at it and you say, well, wait a minute, this is blank. How much blood do you need? The doctor looks at him and says, I'm sorry, but we didn't realize it would be a child. We need all of it. And you say, all of it? You can't give him a transfusion? I mean, if you take all of it, he'll die. And the doctor says, I'm sorry. We didn't realize it would be a child. Please, sign the form. And in your numbness, you sign it and take your son in. And shortly the doctor comes out and says, would you like to have a few minutes with him? You go in, you look at your son, your little child, and he's sitting there on the exam table, and he's scared. He doesn't know what's going on. You go in and you talk to him and you say, and he says, Daddy, what's happening? What's happening? And you say, son, you realize we love you, don't you? You realize we would not let anything happen to you unless it absolutely had to. You understand that, don't you? Doctor comes in and says, we need to get started. The world is waiting. And you start to walk away, and your little boy says, Daddy, where are you going? Daddy, where are you going? Why are you leaving me? Could you do it? Could you do it? I couldn't do it. But God did. And you know what? Whenever I think about us doubting God's promises, when I stop to think what He did and what He gave for us, there is no greater love than to give a life for another life. God gave His only Son. And anyone who would do that deserves all our trust. And it doesn't matter what we face in our life. It doesn't matter whether we have questions, we just don't understand it, or we think it should be our way, or we think that God should give us what we want when we want to take. When it comes to trusting God, all we need to do is remember that He gave His only Son to shed His blood and to die on the cross. And I don't know what more He can do. And the fact that He did that, when He gives us a promise, when He tells us He is coming back, and He is coming back, believe me, He is coming back, then we just need to trust Him, because He would not lie to us. He would not mislead us. And so tonight, when we think about this subject of trusting God, all we have to do is remember what He did for us, and the fact that He did that for us should be all we need to know to trust Him. Will you stand? Father, we're thankful tonight for your word. We're thankful, Lord, for the promises you gave us in your word. Help us to trust you more. Lord, it seems like there are so many times when we go through trials and tribulations and difficulties and challenges, and Lord, we start to doubt. Our faith starts to falter. But Lord, help us to remember the price you paid for us and the significance of it. That it was no small thing. And if you would go to that length to redeem us to yourself, then we have to trust in you and trust in your promises. Father, we pray that you would go with us throughout this week. We continue to pray for Paul. We pray that you would heal him. We pray that you would touch him. We pray that your long arms of healing would reach down and just give him what he needs, and continue to give him the strength that he needs Father, we pray that you would go with us and help us to be good examples for you. Help us to get up each day with the intention of reaching one person for you. In Jesus' name, amen.